Hey, everybody, I'm starting a new episode here.
Sorry.
New episode of the Blind Mike Project. It's not, we didn't just sloppily put this together last minute. What are you laughing at?
I don't know, just the way you would hey.
Yeah, it's nothing better than to start an episode with a Craig laugh. Am I right, folks? I know you love that.
Got me good. It was funny.
So what we're doing here is we're on patreon.com/blindmike.
Yes.
Where you can check out Craig Oconee of Very Good Show.
Hi.
And me, Blind Mike. And sometimes Matt from Rhode Island joins us, who cuts our clips from Vaulted Podcasts.
Extra goodies.
That's right. Thank you, Jerry. So we're streaming live on Patreon, which you can sign up for $1 a month. And I talked to Raanan Hershberg today, and I realized the episode was only like 43 minutes. So I figured we should do like 10 or 15 to make sure you guys have a full plate here. I don't want to shortchange you, for Christ's sake.
No, they deserve it. They're paying us.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, they're not.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. You should
These
be paying.
people are paying us.
Yeah, you should be paying us.
Yeah. But yeah, come on. Yeah. Get while the getting's good. You get 2 months free on patreon.com/blindmike. If you sign up for a full year, you can catch the live streams for as little as $1 a month. So it's a bargain, baby.
It's $1. You don't even know it's gone. God.
So for just the subscribers, what did we talk about today? Well, I will tell the freebies what we talked about for just the subscribers today. Craig wildly offended trans people.
No,
Oh, we had some very transphobic remarks.
I more or less said I don't know the gender of this person, which I think
was outraged.
Which I think is the respectful thing to do.
And now he's doing it again.
I didn't assume a gender. Isn't that the good thing?
Now he crawled out from under the paywall to do this.
I thought you weren't supposed to assume genders, and I didn't.
Well, I suppose. He put it in a very crass manner, folks. Go check it out on the Patreon. We talked. I said the Olympics fucking suck, which they do.
Nah.
Oh, they're garbage.
Winter Olympics rule. I'll stand by that one.
And then we talked about how people are mentally ill on Twitter and retarded. We talked about Louis C.K. and then no other comedians.
None at all.
You definitely didn't talk about anyone after that. And then what else? What else did we do as we kill time here?
We could watch the porn real quick if you'd like.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun for the people.
This is.
So let's see what this is. The great Justin Trudell of KMS fame sent me this and asked if I'd be interested. I don't know if he was getting me in the mood or what his intention was. But I shame on me for not bringing this to you guys sooner, because I did know this existed. I think I found out. This doesn't feel right. There's no way I would have watched it at the program I was in. I didn't watch it. And I can't imagine having heard about it there, but I feel like it was around that time that I found out that this existed.
So,
and it's basically a stereotype. It's like if you're not blind and thought, what would blind people want for porn?
So basically, we were recording on Monday, and we were talking about anal lube.
Sure.
And then for some reason, the Teen Mom sex video came up.
Yes.
And Justin suggested the described video is what they call it. So
basically what we're saying is things get pretty wacky around here, folks. We're a couple of zany guys, shock jocks.
Yeah.
So let's see what this porn's all about. This is porn for the blind.
Towards him. Then she walks over to the bed and throws herself down on it, laughing. Although you still can't see him, he starts hitting her with the pillow.
Because I like this.
She invites him to come over.
Wait, how hot?
And we see a bit of his jeans and t-shirt as he walks over to stand beside her.
What the hell?
They start talking about his cock, and she compares the jeans he's wearing to armor.
Didn't you always want your vice principal to explain porn to you?
Exactly.
Wouldn't that always be much hotter than just watching it?
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, this is like...
It cuts, and now we have a close-up view from above of her blowing him.
Now, this is like if a guy wrote a movie about feminism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I always point this out in the show, Rescue Me.
Mm-hmm.
The female parts are always like when Tommy Gavin gets in a fight with Janet or Sheila. The fight always ends with like, yeah, Tommy, this sex is amazing. You know it blows my mind. But that's not enough for me.
Yeah.
So you can tell Dennis Leary just wrote these women with zero fucking idea of how women talk or think.
Yeah.
That's what this is. It's a sighted person saying, oh, well, surely they need someone to explain what's happening to them. That'll get them to masturbate. When in reality, if we just hear some nuts slapping ass and a little moaning, that's enough for us.
I just rewound it again because I'm pretty sure there was more to that sentence than where I stopped it.
And now we have a close-up view from above of her blowing him. She sucks his cock, but he's not hard yet.
The man is currently questioning his sexuality. He's wondering if a woman this beautiful can't get him hard, what will? Perhaps a man's caress. All of this is going through his mind. You can see it in his eyes.
It's disgusting. I'm gonna give the patrons a little tease here.
You're gonna do that first.
Then, when she decides that they should do anal, she springs up off the bed and walks away to get lube.
I like that phrasing. She
walks
decides
over to
that they
the
should do anal.
staircase, going downstairs.
After pondering this
They keep
for
teasing each
several
other for
minutes.
a few minutes, so she stands
should we
there
do
by
here?
the railing of the stairs in her
It's never just natural happening. It's anal. You know.
I wish he got a little more I wish he used more descriptive adjectives.
Look at these oh, you can't see them obviously, but these ads are something around the video.
What do we got?
I don't know. Looks like some 65-year-old woman.
Will this video get taken down for playing this?
Well, there's no porn on here yet.
Okay. I'm just saying make sure this is the free episode.
Right.
So make sure on the free episode
I removed it before the next scene where it would be taken down. Go back in the archives. You can see Screech fucking some chick for a second.
good.
That was in there.
Wait, that's what it's describing?
This? No, this is the teen mom.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I feel like I shouldn't have to ask this.
She's of age.
Thank God.
She was on the show too.
Oh my God.
No.
Sweet Jesus. My heart almost stopped.
No, Pornhub went through that purge. Remember? They got rid of like 12 million videos.
Oh, thank God. Wait, what do you mean? There were illegal videos on Pornhub?
Allegedly.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it went from about 15 million videos to now it's got like 3.3 million. So who knows what the fuck?
Oh shit. God knows what we've been watching. Oh man. It might be a hint to Matt from Rhode Island, a vaulted podcast. Might be worth clipping if you can find my reaction the second he said teen mom. The look on my face.
Did you see,
of utter fright.
Did you see the that tweet that guy Flora Grill or whatever the fuck posted today?
I don't know who that is. No.
Well, Tim Pool retweeted it or took a picture because the guy deleted it. Do you want me to read this tweet? It's fucking crazy.
If you think it's worth it. By the way, we've got, for those of you wondering, we do have Raanan Hershberg coming up in a few. Once Craig is done with this bit that he's got prepared.
No, this has to do with what we're currently watching.
Okay. Now I feel bad. Boy, so me and Raanan have a real nice discussion about mental health. This is a bizarre thing to put in front of that. That's something for everyone, I guess.
Someone needs to create porn for children. Hear me out. Young teens are already watching porn, but they're finding hardcore, aggressive videos that give terrible view of sex. They need entry-level porn, a softcore site where everyone asks for consent and no one gets choked, etc.
So what is he? Is he just wants softcore porn?
He wants porn for little kids that doesn't have aggression.
To be honest, I had to walk my way through that. At first, I thought he was saying porn for kids in the sense that, like, hey, they should watch people their own age having sex first. And I was like, oh boy, we are on some dicey ground here.
Yeah.
That's a weird. There's something. I mean, I don't think it goes without saying, but that's a weird cause to take up.
You think so?
That is a real weird. Like, hey guys, you'll all be on board with this, right? I'm saying normal stuff.
Back to the spoken word porn.
You know what? Let's. Okay. Yes, we'll get back to that in a second. If you want more spoken word porn,
Patreon
and the other wacky things that we do, go to patreon.com/blindmike. Make sure you check out Very Good Show.
Yeah.
Check out Matt from Vaulted Podcast. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, cuts great clips. He can help you out with all sorts of dare I say, extra goodies there.
Goodies.
Thank you, Jerry. As we do on patreon.com/blindmike. And I'm about to say that again as I introduce Raanan Hershberg. So ignore that and just pretend I'm not repeating myself and I'm not a shitty broadcaster. Tell yourself that. And I appreciate your support, Gearheads. Thank you very much. Enjoy Raanan and this handsome bastard. What's up, guys? Another Blind Mike project. Good news. Craig is not here because I've got a guest. So slightly different show this week, but thank you for checking out patreon.com/blindmike. Continue to do that. And today we've got a very funny comedian and co-host of Joe and Raanan Talk Movies, a movie podcast that I've mentioned a couple of times and enjoy a lot. Raanan Hershberg, what's going on, man?
Not much. Thanks for having me.
To give you, I mentioned we'd be talking like mental health and that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
So to just give you a little insight into like my insecurity and laziness to an extent, I've loved your podcast, but I was late to it.
Thanks.
I was late to it because I heard Joe List say, check out Joe and Raanan Talk Movies. I tried the spelling of your name once and got it wrong and didn't want to feel like more of an idiot. So I stopped guessing for a while and just didn't listen to it for a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, I think that's on us. We really, in a terrible marketing decision, we decided to have my name in the title of the podcast, which just makes people have to spell my name to find the podcast, which is a bad idea, especially since it's hard to find me alone. Just my name is just insane. It's Raanan, but like, yeah.
Yes,
so
Joe and Raanan, Raanan. Make sure you check that out. But
yeah.
I definitely want to talk about that podcast and some of your. I actually, maybe I'm one of the few. I don't know this. I know you talk about getting shit a lot. I enjoy your movie takes, even the ones I don't agree with.
Well, I hope you're not only the few. I hope there's more than just you. But,
well, I'm saying you make it seem like everyone hates you. That's on you guys. You make it seem like everyone hates your snobby movie takes, but I like it.
Yeah, I think it's more of, at this point, it's probably more of like a joke. I don't know. It's hard to say, but like definitely in the beginning, a lot of my opinions aren't even that controversial, but like, I think like, or a lot of my opinions are kind of like just standard, like, I don't know, like the idea that Forrest Gump is a dumb movie is not such a fucking controversial idea for like people who are into films, but like, within the podcast and a lot of people were like shocked by it at first or something. So they like, people got mad, or I don't know. It's hard. It's also hard to tell if people are actually mad on YouTube comments and shit,
I actually thought you had one of the funnier takes, because people get too worked up about Forrest Gump either way. Like people praise it as this classic film or say it's like a good movie. It's fun to watch, kind of. But I thought you had the funniest take on it where you said like, well, what's the movie about? Are they just telling us that like, hey, if you're mentally challenged and get lucky, then life's pretty good? Like, is that what the movie's about?
Yeah, it's like complete nonsense. And now a lot of people, like a lot of YouTube commenters will make fun because I'm like, does every movie have to be about something? And it's like, I don't know. I think so. I mean, like, I think if you're going to call it one of the best movies ever, it should be about something, For sure. But it's hard to tell with YouTube comments too. It's like, I think a lot of times people are trying to be funny. They're just not good at it. So they'll just be like, but then it looks me, you like to read it. It'll be like, oh, you should have died in the Holocaust, you fat Jew. And you're like, oh God, they're really upset about this. And then, it turns out, and then you like comment back and they're like, dude, it was just a joke. And it's like, oh, okay.
That's always the case. I've had to learn that a lot over the, so I'm on the Kirk Minahan show twice a week, and he's got a crazy passionate fan base. And, like a lot of that, like,
radio shows or podcasts where they're very honest about themselves and very inside stuff they talk about a lot.
Right.
You have that passionate fan base where they think they're in on the joke, and they are in
Right.
on the joke to an extent. Like they do participate on social media and all that type of shit.
Right.
But it's hard to tell yourself, like, oh, they're joking with me, because it's like if a stranger because this is a stranger talking to me. So if a stranger came
Right.
up to me and talked to me like that, I'd be, hey, fuck you, pal.
It's a stranger assuming like familiarity, and which is fine, but like it's fine for a stranger to assume familiarity, I guess. But like for you, from your perspective, it just seems like they're actually upset and angry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, as much I want them to change, but it's really like my responsibility to adapt to it. Like eventually I can't read every comment and be like, they're still saying mean shit to me. It's like eventually you got to say, oh, that's what comes with getting hopefully more popular or more notoriety or whatever, however you want to frame it.
Yeah,
like, in a way, it's a good thing.
That's the fucked up thing about like culture. Like culture's so toxic now that a sign that you're actually getting more traction is if people are telling you should have died in the Holocaust. Like that's like, oh, okay, we're getting more, we're going more viral. Like that's how fucked up. Like if things are supportive, it means you haven't really you're not reaching anyone outside your own little circle. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know you're doing well once you're, being called a fucking fat piece of shit hack, who should kill themselves. That's the caveat. So it's like no matter what, it kind of sucks.
Especially because on a lot of days they'll hit you where you're feeling like that. You know what I mean? Like they'll hit you right where you're fucking sensitive. Especially if you're honest and talk about it on air or whatever, then they know kind of where to attack you. And then it's like, they've dissected me. But it's like, no, you told them what would get you sensitive.
Right.
They did it. And now you're acting like, how did they pick up on that?
Though sometimes they are like really insightful, like, like a fucked, like you're like, man, they really figured it out.
Yeah, I didn't even know that about myself. Yeah,
I know. Sometimes, yeah. But it is what it is. I don't really look at comments. There was a time where I was like got like upset by it, but then I just stopped looking at comments. That's the answer. It's like just don't look at them, And it's like that is the point of YouTube comments. Like I always think like because what happens is I'll like get bored. Like what happens is I'd get like bored and want to read YouTube comments just to see like a good one. But the mean ones are so much meaner than the good ones are good,
Sure.
So you just read one that said like, hey, I love the pod, keep it going. And then the next one would be like, Joe needs to replace Raanan immediately. This guy is the fucking worst. He fucking ruins my day. And like, well, that's way more mean than the other one.
It's awfully specific.
Yeah.
He's got a plan. He's already got a replacement in line for me.
But here's the thing. It's like the YouTube comment. That's the point of them. It's like when you get annoyed by something on Twitter. It's like, that's the point of Twitter, for you to be annoyed right now. So it's like, once you realize that's the purpose of the thing, and then you just don't try to look for anything good in it. You know what I mean? If anything, the people writing nice comments, they're even bigger psychopaths. You're going to comment on YouTube just to say something not like, just don't do anything. I'm kidding.
Right.
Keep the nice comments. They mean a lot, even though I don't read them. But sometimes
I have had to tell myself that though, where like I've talked a lot in therapy about this, where, and that's probably the best part about therapy to me is just saying shit out loud that you've thought, because you realize how silly it sounds. Like I'll talk about, shit that I don't like that people are saying on social media or whatever. And then when my therapist asks, like, well, what's some of the positive feedback you get? I'm like, yeah, but I get some, but they're just being nice. And he's like, well, why aren't the other people just being assholes? If they're just being nice, why do they have to mean it?
You discredit anything nice, and then take to heart anything mean, which is not a good way to look at things, No.
So where does your anxiety start? Because I was listening to you on Mindful Metal Jacket as well. And where does your anxiety start? Is it kind of general self-loathing like a lot of people have, or is there more sort of specific area that you can point to?
I guess it's like, it's all over. I mean, I've had every type. I mean, like, self-loathing plays a part, but also, I guess narcissism plays a big part, worrying about what people think about you and worrying that they're ignoring you and not being able to like empathize and realize they're like super busy, and you know what I mean? You're just one of many people, there's that. And there's, I don't know, I get like anxiety. I get a lot of hypochondria, which is not great during a pandemic.
Right.
And uh,
Is
and
hypochondria,
so
when you say hypochondria, I'm curious about that because it's like, I think a lot of people just think of it as like they wash their hands 40 times a day, or they just always think they're sick.
well, that's OCD, or well, maybe that's like hypochondria.
I
if
think
you're
it's a
always
mix
washing
of
your
both,
hands.
right? Maybe I think that is the washing.
For
the
a
hands
second,
thing
I
probably
thought
is
you
more.
meant no. You're right. For a second, I thought you meant the ritual. I guess it can also be just to like make sure you're not getting. Yeah. I guess they're connected.
But is that your experience with it, or is it a little more in depth? Because I'm very curious about. That's one I don't have, where I get very nervous and anxious about everything. But for whatever reason, my health isn't one of those, which is probably a bad thing. But
Yeah, I think hypochondria. It can get pretty intense. All like, especially during COVID. Like, not that we're out of COVID, but like the pre-vaccination phase of my COVID journey. I got a rapid test like all the time, and I constantly thought I was sick, and I would like get actual symptoms. I would feel like cold spells, and I'd feel like all this kind of shit, and then I get tested and it'd be negative, and suddenly all those feelings would go away. So like the
geez.
hypochondria definitely would, the worst. I mean, the worst part of the pandemic is like it was like this disease where one of the symptoms is not having symptoms, which as a hypochondriac, you're like, that's not really playing fair. There are rules to this thing. It's like, I'm a hypochondriac, you're a disease. You have certain symptoms. I think I have those symptoms, and I think I have that disease. But once the disease says a symptom is not having symptoms, and you're like, oh, so if I'm feeling great, that could mean
and
I
you
have
definitely
COVID.
have it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then it got really complicated because like I like talk to my friend, I'd be like, I'm sneezing, I'm worried it's COVID, and they'd be like, yeah, but sneezing is not a symptom of COVID. And I'd be like, yes, but not being a symptom of COVID is a symptom of COVID.
That's just the thing. They're trying to
Therefore,
fuck
I
you.
could have COVID, So it was it was quite the mind fuck. But yeah, hypochondria definitely makes me exacerbate sickness, and you worry so much about like getting sick. I think for a lot, it's like it's trying to have control. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how the best way to define hypochondria. You're basically constantly guessing how you're gonna die, hoping that if you guess it, the universe will be like, well, now we can't have him die that way because that's what he thinks, so we won't have him die that way. Like,
Right.
I can't die of cancer if I'm freaking out that I'm about to die of cancer,
I do that. I think I heard you say that on the podcast at some point, and I do that with everything. Where it's like, well, and that becomes where like self-deprecating humor. You're walking a fine line between being funny with self-deprecating shit and sounding like sad.
Right.
Because I got to a point where I would like people would say I was doing on the podcast or whatever that I kind of had a woe is me act, and I was like, that's bullshit. I don't think that. I'm joking about how sad I am or how things always go wrong for me. But then when you let other people do it, you realize like, oh, I can come off like I want attention, even though that's not your goal when you're doing it.
Right. Yeah. You can come off different than people come off different than their intention all the time. Which is
I guess meaning like when I like if I accuse like let's say I accuse you of doing that, like coming off as like you want me to you're looking for pity or something.
Yeah.
Well, I come off like that to other people, but I'm not, in my mind, I'm not doing that.
Right.
But we'd also don't have the sympathy for the other person. Like if I accused you of doing it, I wouldn't think to myself, well, hey, I've done that, and that wasn't my goal to make you feel bad for me.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's tough, because people think you want pity sometimes, and you're like, no, I don't want pity.
Right.
No one. I feel like a lot of people don't want pity. Maybe they do. I don't know. Pity seems kind of condescending. You're always having that moment on stage where you try to say something sad and funny, and people go, "Aw," and it's like, no, I want you to relate and laugh. I don't want you to go, "Aw."
Yeah.
Like you feel bad for me as if you haven't had those feelings, because pity is from a superior place, I think. You want empathy, not pity.
Have you noticed more of that on stage? I feel like people talk about that a lot more the last few years, where a lot of crowds are reacting with like awes or applause or reactions other than laughter, where almost like they're reacting to it as if it's a speech or a rally or something.
I mean, I feel like the awe has been there since the beginning, since I started. I feel
Yeah.
like I've always had kind of like jokes that can be sad, and sometimes the awe is deserved because it is more pathetic than funny. You know what I mean? But I've the awe is always. I think the awe I get less awes now, just because I think maybe you just if it's really fucking funny, you won't get it awe. That's the worry about the awe. The reason we get mad at awe isn't because we're mad that they're pitting us. We're mad that we feel like, oh, is this joke not working?
It's supposed
Is
to be a
this
fucking joke. Yeah.
Is this joke sadder than it is funny, which can be the case a lot. So like, I don't know. As I've gotten, I don't know. I guess as I've gotten better, I've gotten less awes. But it's also tough because like, the more you talk about sad shit, the more you can get an awe, which is, it's the worst kind of heckle. The worst kind of heckles are when the people think they're being good,
Yeah.
because then you look like an asshole if you get mad at them. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
right.
there's so
Even
many-
I went to see. I saw Shane Gillis at Laugh Boston the other night,
Mhm.
and there was a lady behind me who seemed like more of not a Shane Gillis fan. Like, hey, it would be fun to go to a comedy club, that sort of
Right.
thing. So like Shane would say something, or even Matt McCusker, the opener, they'd say, there was the whole show. They'd say something, and this woman would go, "Oh yes," or like guess the punchline.
Yeah, that's well. I mean, guess the punchline is complete all-out war. If you're gonna
It's the
guess
worst.
punchline. I mean, if you're gonna guess, the worst is when they get it right.
It's like, gosh, I need to work on this.
The oh yes is anything that's not a laugh is like such bullshit, and it's so. I mean, it's much worse than someone just being like "fuck you, homo," because like at least that, if you come back at people aren't like, oh, like why is he going off on this person just saying aw, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so the worst heckles are definitely the ones where they under the guise of supportiveness,
Right.
but it's not supportive, it's ego. And that can
Of
be
course.
true for a laugh too. Like there are people's laughs that are, I mean, it's hard to explain, but there are definitely people who laugh in a way where it's like you're totally just making this about you.
It
you
takes
know?
over the room. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like where
and
everyone's
that's-
focused on that.
And that's kind of annoying too. I mean, sometimes it's a genuine goofy laugh, and that's whatever,
Yeah.
But sometimes people laugh. This really annoys me. Is like there'll be like drunken people one night who are like young, usually it's like young girls or something, or young guys, and they'll be drunkenly cheering after everything. But it's not about what you're saying; it's about them having a fun Friday night.
Yes. Yeah.
And you're
yeah,
just gonna be like, "Fuck you! This isn't about a fun Friday night. It's about me bearing my soul. You fucking."
Right.
And by bearing my soul, I mean just repeating the same fucking jokes I'm sick of all the time. But like, don't make me. And this is where the ego battle comes.
Yeah.
Don't make me just a part of your great night. You're here.
Right.
This is, you're here to observe an artist. And they're just be like, we saw a comic and we pre-gamed and saw a comic. It was a great night. And like, fuck you. You're making it about yourself. Though of course everyone makes everything about themselves. So you know, it's a fine dance.
Well, I think it's funny. Comedians are almost at the stand-up. I think is almost to the detriment of their own honesty, because at least any stand-up that I like is a version of themselves on stage, where there is a level of honesty, and of course exaggeration and things like that. But you
Right.
feel like you're watching that guy. Like if I go see Raanan Hershberg, I feel like I'm watching Raanan Hershberg tell jokes, but also be honest about his life or whatever he's talking about.
Yeah.
So that allows people to then like give you feedback on stage for some reason. Whereas if you were performing a play, no one would yell, "Oh yes, you got him."
Right, exactly. I mean, it is like such a intimate thing, and the more effortless, the more it seems conversational on your part, the more people will like take that to mean they can like interrupt, which sucks. Cause it's like, oh, you think this is a conversation because I'm really good at stand-up and I've made it like seem like a conversation. So now I'm getting punished for being, you know what I mean? It's also the thing where it's like comedy is the thing where it's like your instrument is the audience, but I guess from their perspective, it looks like your instrument is your voice,
Right.
So it's like you go on stage with your voice, but everyone in the audience also has a voice. So it's like the equivalent of like people go, no one ever heckles if you're fucking in a symphony, or if you're playing music. But it's like if you went out playing a clarinet and everyone in the audience had a clarinet in their lap, That's what the equivalent of is when you do stand up.
Right.
Everyone has an instrument, the same instrument. So if you came up with a clarinet, everyone had a clarinet in their lap, one or two people might be tempted to use that clarinet during it. So
Right.
it makes sense that you get heckles sometimes, you know?
And it's hard. It's
It'd be
hard to
weird if you
even
didn't.
blame. It's hard to even blame like the lady sitting behind me at the show. It's hard to really blame her because she's not. She's just a lady that's going out for a fun evening or whatever, looking for a few laughs, I guess. So it's
Yeah.
hard to explain to her like, hey, you're throwing off the timing because you're not part of this. Because then the very
Yeah.
next line could be like, hey, what do you do for work? And then if
Yeah.
she's like, am I supposed to respond? I don't get it.
Yeah, and then also the other thing is a lot of these people are just drunk, so it's like
That- yeah, right.
You're fighting against some, you know, it's mostly drunk people. You're rarely having a sober like heckler, you know what I mean? So
Right.
so it's just alcoholism, and you know, it is what it is. I mean, you know, a lot of time that shit is fun though. Like I was at Acme last week, and I was having some really fun shows, but at a certain point, you know, I don't know. I'm maybe in a bit of a creative rut, and I'm like kind of sick. I need some new shit. So I was doing the kind of wrote a little one night, maybe getting a little too, you know, that's the challenge of comedy is to like, it's so easy to go into autopilot, and basically your goal as a comedian is to fight that at all times. And I think one night I was probably going a little in autopilot,
Mhm.
and it was like a pretty packed room, and this woman stood up. She couldn't like go to the bathroom by leaving behind her.
Right.
And she was in the front row. She stood up and just stepped on the stage in the middle of a bit I was doing that was like a pretty elaborate bit that was getting right to like its like kind of big crescendo. And she stepped on stage and then stepped off stage to go to the bathroom. And I was like, are you out of your fucking mind? And then I riffed on that for like 3 minutes, and it was great. It was like the most fun I had all weekend.
Yeah.
Because she fucking walked on stage, you know? And I wasn't actually mad. I was just joking, but so a lot of times people doing goofy ass shit can be like, I hate to say it, I don't want to encourage people, but like,
Right. That's the problem. Because if you say what you're about to, I know what you're about to say, but then you say, and people are like, see, I'm part of it. I'm part of the show.
Well, that's the thing. Yelling out isn't always great because that's not that, but like, I guess it depends on what you're doing. The ridiculousness of literally stepping on stage
Yeah.
in a packed room when like the hilarity of stepping on stage to get to the bathroom is
Right.
just so hilariously indifferent and just so like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like it was also just in the middle of such a like elaborate bit. So it's like that like really woke me up, and it was totally the most fun I had. And then she got kicked out, which I felt really bad for. Because like afterwards, I really don't think she had room to get like to the bathroom without like going on
Right.
stage.
Yeah, you guys are kind of comedy partners at this point, so you feel a little bad for her.
She could have we're a comedy duo. She could have kicked out my duo. She could have. I mean, she probably could have figured out a different way, but I don't think they needed to kick her out. But whatever, it was a
Right.
fuck up. But like, yeah, it was like so. Sometimes it's like people saying shit can like really wake you up. You know, I remember one time I was in a theater, and I'd been on a run, and I was kind of like going through the motions one night, and then like the lights in it was like a pretty big theater. The lights in the entire theater just turned on out of nowhere, and apparently someone had punched someone and gotten kicked out of the
Jesus Christ.
show. But even just riffing on that made me like, yeah. So like, yeah, I guess it's okay to heckle. Just you got to do it on the
Be
nights
creative.
where
If Ranan's in your city, just go up on stage or do something unusual. you
well,
know?
yeah, do something unusual. Make sure it's a night where you feel like the comic is a little like going on autopilot and needs something
Right.
to like put them in the moment. Don't do it on a night where they're trying to get this material to perfectly work. You got it. That's the thing. If you could only do it when comedians are just kind of getting a little bored by their jokes, then it'd be perfect.
How's it been since audiences have been back and everything? Is it kind of business as usual yet, or no?
I mean, I took a 6 months break during the pandemic, and then even that I was doing Zoom the whole time. But then I did outdoor shows after 6 months. So I've been back for a while. I guess it was a transition from outdoor to indoor.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I feel like although I guess I think the first show I did where people were like packed in there was like maybe actually honestly a month ago. I
Right.
felt like they were packed in there. It's been great. It's been really great. I mean, who knows how long it'll last, but like,
Yeah, we'll see.
it's been really fun. The outdoor shows were fun too, though. They're kind of like an exciting, kind of goofy, weird thing, So
Right.
it's all been pretty fun. Yeah.
So back to sort of the mental health angle of it. I heard you
Yeah.
talking about was it specifically transcendental meditation or just meditation in general?
I try to do TM,
Yeah.
but I go back and forth. I like
Does that
the
work for
TM a
you?
lot. Yeah, I do. I mean, I think the whole point of meditation is like you got to do it, and at the same time, there's a part of you that's like, I don't know if this is making much bigger of a difference. I think that's part of meditation. But
Okay,
like,
good. That makes me feel better because what I was gonna say was it's been suggested to me, and my therapist says even try it like, 60 seconds at a time. See if you can do it for a minute, and then go to 5 minutes. And all. But the whole time, every time I've tried, the entire time I'm thinking, "Oh, you fucking idiot! You're not paying attention. Your mind isn't blank. Look at these thoughts that you're having."
right, which is part of it, but that is part of meditating.
Okay.
People forget about. Yeah, no, I think meditation is hugely crucial. I sometimes wonder about TM as opposed to other ones.
What's the difference?
TM is a mantra you say to yourself. So I do TM, which
Oh,
is like
okay.
2 different 20 minutes a day, where I just say a mantra to myself on a loop,
Mhm.
silently for 20 minutes, and then anytime you get distracted and you notice that you've gotten distracted, you go back into saying the mantra, which is mindfulness is kind of similar. You just focus on your breath,
Yeah.
and then anytime you notice you've not focusing on your breath, which is what's supposed to happen, your thoughts come in. You're not supposed to push away your thoughts.
Right.
You're supposed to just be aware once you are aware that you're no longer paying attention to your breath, you gently go back to paying attention to your breath. Oh, I think meditation is really crucial, especially if you have anxiety or just in general.
It's helped you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm much happier and calmer when I'm meditating, and it's the way I see it. It's like just going through life in your normal state of consciousness can really be like exhausting. And when you close your eyes and just meditate for 20 minutes, it's a different state. You're in a different state. And it makes going back to this state like more enjoyable,
Right.
and
We're
it's really important to just kind of like sit there and do nothing because we're doing something all the time. And so much anxiety, I think, happens because you're like, you drink coffee and you're like, go, go, go. And you're working on shit.
Yeah.
But then eventually you get a little tired, but that energy is still there. And that's
Yeah.
when anxiety hits, when you're like, your body wants to keep on going, but you don't have the energy for it. So you just feel anxious now,
Yeah, it's funny how much we judge because, like, even as you were talking, I was like, "Oh shit!" First of all, I should try transcendental meditation because when you said the mantra thing, I was like, "Oh well, I'm not going to sit there and say a phrase over and over again because I'm an
Uh-huh.
idiot and I didn't think about what it was." And then you were like, "Well, you silently say it," and I'm like, "Well, not only is that better, but that would probably help me where I'm not. I have something to think of. I have a mantra to think of rather than." Like I do no research into this shit. I try it once and then I'm like, it doesn't work for you, you fucking idiot.
Well, but you have like anxiety, right?
Oh yeah,
Like you get like panic attacks and stuff, or
a little bit. Yeah,
oh yeah, no, it's totally oh yeah. I if you have anxiety, I mean, I think everyone should meditate, but definitely if you have anxiety, for sure, it really helps. I mean, just I don't know which one. TM is like. The nice thing about TM is, well, you pay a little money to do it, to learn it, and then it's like, it's not a lot. It's just a one-time fee, but like you go to TM Center, but then it does give you a structured like 20-minute sets a day. So like that helps me, but like you can also just do it like a mindfulness app. And I think either way, I just think like kind of like it's so vital to just kind of sit there and disassociate a little from your thoughts. Cause an important part of meditation is kind of like separating your thoughts from yourself, making you realize your thoughts are not reality,
yeah,
they're just this flowing thing that just is always happening out of your control. And when you get caught up in anxiety, your thoughts become reality and they become overwhelming. And meditation is like the practice of separating those, your thoughts from reality.
Do you have anything that helps you get over? Like I think of things like over the last year, I've gotten a lot better at if I notice myself getting into a place where I'm getting overly anxious or
Mm-hmm.
agitated or whatever it is. I am better now at um, assessing it and saying, "Oh, all right, this is what's happening. Take a breath." Like, look at what's going on, assess if it's really that bad, and kind of try to move on. Like with social media, the idea of just putting your fucking phone away, that's become a lot easier to me now.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Do you have that? But the other, shoe to drop with that is that I always think like, well, if it really gets bad, then I won't be able to handle it. I still always think that, which is a hard thing to get rid of. Do you have any do you deal with that at all? Or am I even making sense?
The question is, you feel like you have it under control, but like you still worry that it could get really bad and you wouldn't have it under control.
Yeah, meaning like, oh, I have this under control, but I'm not really dealing with anything major. Once I deal with something major, and then that becomes its own anxiety.
Right. Oh, you mean something major that will give you anxiety?
Right, right.
Well, I think typically anxiety comes. Well, I guess I don't know. I guess anxiety comes when you have something big you're dealing with, but it usually doesn't. Anxiety is usually not like when the pandemic hit. I wasn't feeling that anxious because it's like the shit finally, the other shoe dropped. So much of anxiety is waiting for the other shoe to drop. So when you're actually dealing with something pretty intense, I find I have less anxiety because you're actually dealing with the thing. You're no longer.
It makes you feel normal.
Yeah, and you're no longer imagining a worst case scenario.
Right.
Which
I forget who I heard say that, but it was someone that deals with hypochondria, where they were like, when the pandemic happened, I was like, see, there is something to worry about. Like that made them feel like they were right this whole time.
Yeah, I felt okay, but I mean, later on during it, I had a lot of hypochondria, but like in the beginning, the intensity of it does like, I don't know. It's like so much of anxiety is worrying about something happening. So when something happens, you just deal with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think when major shit happens, you are more prepared to deal with it than you think. Your worry that you're not prepared to deal with it is anxiety of it not happening yet and imagining like the worst thing ever. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
And it happens and it's something you deal with,
Yeah.
Like the pandemic itself, it's like Joe told me this the other day. He said if someone told me that like everything was going to shut down for a year and there'd be this pandemic, I'd be like so depressed. And then it turned out to be like one of the best years of my life. So it's like,
right.
You kind of learn how to deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. What you're saying.
And that's the thing with climate change too. You freak out about climate change, but you're like, it's scary, but we're going to have to learn how to deal with it. And in our heads, we imagine something like the worst thing ever, but it is a reality, but it's going to be something we're just going to have to learn how to deal with. And once you're dealing with it, it becomes less terrifying because you see what it is for what it is. But like, in terms of like, I don't know, anxiety is always something you can handle. It's not schizophrenia. It's not like bipolar. It's, anxiety it sucks, but it's not gonna like destroy your life. I don't think.
Yeah. I'm always worried about like, I think genuinely like everyone, if you can afford it, or your insurance covers it or whatever, I kind of think everyone should be in therapy because I think that it helps everyone just to talk and unload their problems, even if you're in a good place. But there is also the other end where I think a lot of people now, the idea of anxiety is accepted enough where it can almost be a built-in excuse for people. Like if someone gets in a jam, it's easy to say, oh, my anxiety affected me here. And there's no way to really measure if that's true or not. So it's hard for me because I always feel like talking about, am I using this as a crutch or as an excuse, which can be its own, tough thing to deal with at times.
Well, how do you use it as an excuse, you mean?
Well, I think like when you're on a podcast, say like, last year I took a break for a few months. I left for a few months to kind of get myself right and everything. And at the time, and this subsided because I think the longer I was away and that I came back, a little bit better, I think people realized that I genuinely was working on myself. But at the time, a lot of people said like, oh, this is an excuse. Mike was getting shit online or Mike wasn't happy with his performance or whatever. And now he uses like mental health as an excuse. And that panics me to the bizarre thing is like that panics me into thinking, oh, I just look like I'm using this as an excuse. So I should pretend that nothing is wrong, which is much worse to do. But I think a lot of people deal with that in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to like take breaks. I mean, if you're working for shit or podcast comedy, like you want to make it sustainable. You know, you don't want to work to the point where you have like a mental health crisis and then have to stop for a long time. So you need to like, you need to take. You can either take planned breaks or you can take a long break when you have a nervous breakdown because you have So it's like it's one or the other. So yeah, no, it's very important to take breaks. I mean, I don't think anxiety. I mean, I mean that sounds like some Boston fucking
meathead shit. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, like anxiety is something that doesn't get enough coverage. It's not something that is talked about too much, in my opinion. Like, I think so many people are having like really like pretty bad times with anxiety in their lives a lot of the time, and it doesn't get talked about enough, mainly because it can be hidden, well hidden. You know what I mean? Like when I had some of my worst anxiety, no one could tell. You know,
right.
I looked fine on the surface, and that's the thing about anxiety. It won't stop you from functioning. I always say about anxiety is like for me, my anxiety levels, it doesn't keep me from doing anything. All it keeps me from doing is except for being happy. That's the only thing.
Yes, yeah.
I can do everything. I'm just not happy about it. But like, it's a functioning condition,
right?
And that makes it easy to hide, and so a lot of people don't talk about it. And that, I mean, when I had my worst experience with anxiety, I realized, like, man, you can be talking, because I knew for a fact someone could be talking to me, not noticing anything wrong, and I'd be hell in my head. I'd be caught in my head, feeling just so disconnected from life, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think people just feel disconnected from life all the time. They're just caught in their head and they're worrying their thoughts, and they're not in the moment. And like that anxiety is like so pervasive, and we don't talk about it.
Was your worst experience like a specific incident, or was it sort of a long period of just not really knowing what was wrong?
I had a period for like, I changed medications, or I got off medication slowly, and I had like, I don't know, almost like 6 months to a year of being like really dizzy and out of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like really, like actually dizzy for like, I think 3 months straight, you know?
Yeah. I'm on Wellbutrin. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah, I'm on that. Yeah.
I started it about 8 months ago, I guess. And for me, it worked very well. I hear conflicting stories, but for me, it's worked very well.
It works different people. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I'm like, well, I guess I'm just on this forever now. Like it works, so I guess I just have to. This is what makes me function normally.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't, if it's working, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, you can't. Some people can't get off at a certain point, you know, but it is also really tough to get off, you know. Like, I got off Paxil after a while, and it really fucked my shit up hardcore getting off. But I mean, yeah, but yeah, it's just if you can figure out anxiety. I also think figuring out anxiety is also like figuring out life in general, because I feel like they're so connected. Like the same strategies to deal with anxiety are kind of the same strategies to deal with just everything in life.
Yeah,
living in the moment, not thinking about the future, trying to be present. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had that where like my life has improved over the last year because I've dealt with my anxiety. It also gives you skills to deal with just life shit in general.
And also helping other people. I think for me, like anxiety, like when I'm having it really bad and then someone asks like for help, it helps more to like help them and distract from your own shit. You know what I mean? And that's like, I think that's a key part of life in general, which is just realizing that like at the end of the day, no matter how much self-improvement you have, your problems, you're never going to really get to the root of your problems.
Right.
You're never really going to figure them out fully. But instead of trying to figure them out, you can help other people.
Right.
And that can distract you. And that is what it's all about anyway.
I know I'm enjoying this conversation, but I know you got to get out here relatively soon. And I did want to talk a little more movies with you.
Yeah, we can talk movies for a second. Yeah.
What's the biggest? Is John Candy the one you've gotten the most shit for? I'm trying to think of what.
Yeah, that became a big thing. Yeah.
Your most controversial take has been.
Which I don't know. I was just kind of like, I just said something like he's more nice and funny or something. I don't remember what I said. I just, yeah, people give me shit about that. I don't know what was controversial. I'm trying to think. I mean, I said all sorts of shit. But I guess
Well, what I liked, I mean, you
I talked
guys.
about I hated Blues Brothers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I really just don't like a lot of 80s comedies. I find they're all, and I think people are just like, it's my childhood, which I get,
Yeah.
but like, it's just like, I feel like so many 80s comedies are like, they're kind of like adventure comedies and they end up being neither that funny or that adventurous, they kind of fail on both levels. But like, I've grown to appreciate John Candy more, I guess. I like him in
They've beaten you into appreciating more.
I like him in Home Alone. Oh, that's what people got mad about. I said like,
Oh, you thought Home Alone stunk, right?
well, yeah, I mean that's I think that's obvious. But like it was also I just think that movie I just think he's like a fucking psychopath.
I'm with you on that one. The idea
that the cops and he chose instead to like just really like torture them.
And the idea that a family would leave their kid behind and just be like, shit, I guess it'll be a few days.
But I generally found that movie watching it now like kind of disturbing. Like when you watch that movie, you're like, oh, school shootings are not a surprise. Like violence is so inherent in our culture. It's like really fucked up. That movie's actually very fucked up.
And Pesci is so determined to get to that kid.
Yeah.
Like the burglars, there's obviously something more going on than just wanting to rob this house.
Right. I hate to sound like some kind of mother who's like the violence in kids movies, but like that movie is like very fucked up to watch now. But
one episode I love that you guys did was when you talked about Tom Cruise, because a big chunk of it was breaking down Cocktail, which I found very funny.
Oh yeah.
do you I feel bad in a way because what we do on Patreon a lot is break down old weird TV shows and shit. Right. Sometimes I feel bad because I'm like, well, they actually created something and I'm just mocking it, but it is one of my favorite things to do. And I would love if you guys did more of that type of shit, just ridiculous movies like Cocktail that are like, why the fuck was this even made?
Right. Yeah. No, that is fun. We do. We used to like, sometimes we'll like just talk shit about a movie till forever. But then a lot of times we're both just like appreciating movies too. We go back and forth. I guess it depends on what the movie is. A lot of times we're kind of rewatching things and having a different opinion on them, than we had before. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's fun talking shit about movies.
For sure.
I don't think you have to create something to, if everyone had to make a movie to talk shit about movies, everyone would basically
be tough.
Yeah. But I also feel like I create things, so I'm like, I can do both.
Right, you do stand. I'm just a shit talker on a podcast. You have something you can hang your hat on, but
I mean, even this is something. It's work you're creating.
Well, thank you. That's what I was fishing for.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, my favorite. Like, I know people probably love when you shit on things, but I also love when you guys disagree. Like, genuinely, I thought you broke Joe's heart when you talked about Field of Dreams. Like, I really love when you guys disagree on something because it shows how someone can fucking hate a movie and another person, it can mean so much to them.
Yeah, I know. You can really shit on it. You're just basically just shitting on someone's childhood dreams.
Right.
And you're shitting on like they're connected because of their own trauma in their life. So you're basically just purely shitting on their own like emotional issues in life. It can be pretty intense.
All right, Raanan, thank you for coming on, man. I know you're out on the road. Are you going to be anywhere?
Yeah. I'm at I'm at Comedy on State tomorrow, and then I'm at Funny Bone and Omaha Funny Bone this weekend. And you can see me at Comedy Off Broad. I'm headlining Comedy Off Broadway in Lexington. Do you have any Lexington fans?
I'm sure we do. We must have some Southerners listening to this.
I'm headlining Comedy Off Broadway in Lexington August 8th. You can get tickets at comedyoffbroadway.com, and then I'm headlining Planet of the Tapes in Louisville. Really cool place. You can get tickets for that at planetofthetape's.biz. Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, if you ever come to Boston or New England area, hopefully we'll get you on again.
And yeah, follow me on Instagram, Raanan Comedy, Raanan Comedy.
Yes. And if you like movie talk, like I said, I mean, we talked about it already. Go listen to Joe and Raanan Talk Movies.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Awesome podcast. Thanks, Raanan, for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Wow, what a beautiful world.